All right, let's keep going, let's keep pushing. In this video, I want to talk about business plans when doing business here in Africa, or actually doing business anywhere in the world. All right, I'm going to get straight to the point here on this one. Business plans don't work as well as you think they will. You don't know how many times in the last, let's say, 10 years, because I've been doing like different types of businesses for at least 10 years with some level of success and some failures, but mostly, what I'm saying, I learned from my failures because I've tried a lot of things, especially over there in the US. What I learned is this: business plans don't work as well as you think they will. You don't know how many times I've talked to a lot of people that got stuck at the business plan level and never did anything. Nothing ever came out of that idea. So let's say they had an idea to, what's a great idea? Oh, all right. Let's say they had an idea to import and export cars. Okay. There's some people that, wanted to export cars, I guess, from the US or maybe Japan, bringing them to Africa, whatever game plan that they had, because everybody has a plan, okay? Everybody has the perfect game plan in their head, everybody. But where things fall apart is execution. There's so many million-dollar ideas that are at the graveyard, too many, and it's tragic. And this is because people, the 99% of people, get stuck obsessing over a business plan. Anytime somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, I got this business plan," I don't even look at it. Just today, the only thing, let me tell you what I look at. It wasn't today, actually. It was 3 days ago. Somebody that I met with my wife, they know kind of what personality I am. They know I'm quite standoffish. So they knew exactly how to navigate with me, because they only had a short conversation with me, so they kind of studied me, I guess. So instead of them coming to me with a business plan, they came to me with a proposal. I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm listening. Now I'm listening." A proposal to say, all right, the first approach was, "Hey, how would you like 65% of profits in this project, the project that I'm working on?" I was like, "What? What's the catch? 65% of what you're doing? What's the catch, dog? What's the catch? There's got to be a catch, because I don't trust people like that. In fact, I don't trust 99% of people anymore. I don't. And you shouldn't either." So he said, all right. Of course, I was pushing back. I'm like, I don't know. I already got a lot of things on my plate right now. Maybe give me some time. But this guy was persistent. He guys persisted. And I mad respect for him. Mad respect. So he put together like simple breakdown. It was 1-page proposal. It wasn't like a bunch of slides talking about, projections over the next 5 years. What? Listen, he sent me 1 page that broke down all the things that he's going to need. I think there were like 6 or 7 items that he needed. And then he said exactly what those items were going to do. It was very straight to the point, and exactly what the outcome was going to be and what the price on the marketplace was for that thing once it was completed. And he broke down exactly what he already has, and he probably he had like half the money already, and he needed just the other half. So I was like, okay. So I looked at the amount. I was like, oh, it's like $1,500. That's not bad. It turns out the potential returns. This is not guaranteed, okay? I know nothing is guaranteed in business. The potential returns were going to be 7,000 USD in about 10 months, because that's how long it takes for that thing to mature. So I'll tell you exactly what it is. it's essentially growing uh, coffee, uh, coffee plants, starting a nursery. I'm like, that's logical. That makes sense. Because I know people that have made a lot of money here in Africa from selling produce in agriculture. So there's money to be made, obviously. But with his angle, instead of him growing the plant from scratch and, you know, selling it while when it becomes a fully grown plant, he's figured out his own niche, his own angle to sell uh, smaller plants to other growers that were willing to wait much longer. So build a nursery and growing these plants and taking care of them for like 6 months, then selling them to other producers. Because other producers have, they don't have as much capital as he has, or even access to capital like he has. So that's how he knew he can corner the market. If he comes in with like $3,000, remember, he's got half, right? And he wants the other half from me. So that's $3,000 he needs. Out of that $3,000, he's going to make potentially $7,000 on the low end in like 6 months. That's not bad. You might look at it and be like, okay, Mofaro, I'm not excited about these numbers. But listen, it's scalable. I like things like that start small, but there's a potential to scale that. If this gamble works out, if I gamble for my 1,500 and this thing pans out and we actually double our money and some change in those 6 months, I know for sure if we try it again after 6 months, put in better systems, better processes, we can scale this thing. But you got to start off small. The biggest problem I've seen when people try and come into this market is they want to come in big, too big, with one idea, with one business plan. That is, they've obsessed over that business plan for months or even years, trying to perfect it. The thing with business plans is this: it does not account for situations that are beyond your control. You are assuming this business plan is going to work out based on current conditions. Conditions change all the time. Tanzania was a very peaceful country for 60 plus years, right? Since 1961. So do the math. This country has been a peaceful place for a long time. But something happened that caused chaos, that affected the market, that affected business. A business plan doesn't account for things like that. So you need to understand that the way you should approach business here in Africa specifically, or in general, what has worked for me and what has worked for a lot of other successful people is two things. Number one is you need to come up with like a goal. Come up with a goal. What is this that I'm trying to accomplish? Am I trying to sell 10 cars? All right. If I'm trying to sell 10 cars that I imported from Japan, what is the least amount of money that I can put in this thing to validate or minimal viable product, right? Minimal viable process. What is a minimal viable process, MVP, that I can put in place before I gamble the big money? Is it maybe I come up with my own branding? I start promoting that I'm running this thing. Maybe you're running ads on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, promoting the fact that you're new in business without necessarily having the inventory. I just did a video about how to drop ship from places like China, without holding a lot of inventory. The best way to do it. Or drop shipping furniture from Turkey. I just did a video about that. Go watch that. So you're starting off small without gambling a lot of money to see if this thing will work or not. And that requires, number two, It requires taking massive action. Unfortunately, I've noticed that the people that don't succeed in business, that are obsessed with business plans, all they do is they don't, all they do is just focus on obsessing on perfection, but they don't take massive action and they don't begin with the end in mind. Beginning with the end in mind is what I just said, is that if your goal is to sell 10 cars, you're trying to get into the import and export business for selling cars here. What is the end in mind? Is you want to sell 10 cars. Can you get 10 people to reach out to you and say, yes, I am willing to buy I'm willing to buy a car from you. By the way, my videos are not edited, so excuse the mistakes. I'm going to be pushing through, okay? There's so much game I got to give you. Where was I? All right. Can you convince 10 people without spending thousands of dollars? Can you convince 10 people that, you got cars for them, or you can get them cars? Can you do that? How are your sales skills? Excuse me. How are your sales skills? Are you good at sales? Do you know how to put together the right paperwork? Do you have a plug already set up in Japan or wherever it is? Have you been to Japan? Can you prove that you have a good process in place? Do you know how to set up your own branding? What is your process of delivering from, say, the source to the customer? What does your process look like? Have you thought about all those things? There's so many things you need to look at, but it begins with looking. It begins with focusing on the end goal first. Begin with the end in mind. Always. Most people never get to the end goal. Most people get stuck at the business plan, but never sell a single car. I know a guy here in Tanzania with such a great personality and great skills for selling. He's got great personality. Let me tell you what he did. He went to one of the biggest car dealerships here in Dar es Salaam that was not good at selling cars. They didn't have a social media presence like that. And he knew how to do this whole social media game. Let me tell you what he did. Brilliant mind. Africa has got a lot of smart people, and I respect a lot of smart people here because I learned something from this guy. He went to this car dealership. He didn't have any cars. He didn't have any inventory. All he had was a plug. He went over there and said, hey, listen, I'm going to work for free for you guys for maybe 3 months. But allow me to, when I'm working for you for those 3 months, allow me to be on social media, to be on my phone, and also allow me to, go to deliver these cars to your customers. All you got to do is maybe pay for the gas, pay for my food. You know what I'm saying? Low risk. It's a low risk entry into a partnership is what I'm trying to say. All right? And I understand a lot of you guys are not willing to do this, but he was willing to do it because his competition was not willing to do it. So check this out. Instead of him starting a company from scratch, starting his own, importing his own cars, having inventory sit there, he offered to be a free salesman for that car dealership. Now, here's where the brilliance came in. On his smartphone, on his Instagram, he set up his own branding of dealership. He set up his own branding for on Facebook. And he even incorporated his business. He got a tax ID and all this stuff. He had everything all set up nicely. In those 3 months, all he was doing is going on TikTok set up a camera stand right there, go on TikTok, and just do a walkthrough on the cars that he was selling for his plug, putting it on his TikTok, putting it on his Instagram. Every single day he was on there, every single day, until he built a following. And he would document every time he's driving that car to the customer and dropping it off, and he was dressed real sharp and everything. So online, he was known as the guy that was sharply dressed guy, and he was delivering cars, and he had a great personality. He built his brand and a good, loyal customer base by leveraging another business. So all he had to do was put in sweat equity for 3 months. That's what he put in. Sweat equity for 3 months. Maybe you could do it for 6 months. Because you're building your brand online, leveraging somebody else's inventory. I don't know if the owner of that dealership that had that inventory, I don't know if he knew this game. I guess he was just happy that somebody was selling cars. Sometimes people here, they don't really care. And maybe he got paid commission only. That's another option too. Maybe he negotiated to get paid a small commission if he made a sale. He was grinding. And he built a good following to the point where, this is the brilliance of it, to the point where after those three months or 6 months, whatever that he put in, sweat equity, he was able to convince other customers to take deposits, because he built his reputation online, to take deposits, and he could go to Japan and pick those cars himself. And then he became the plug, removing the other plug. So he finessed the game without investing thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars into stock, by leveraging social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. This is why I'm saying, guys, business plans do not work. They don't work as well as you think they do, especially if you're trying to start small businesses. Maybe for the multi-million-dollar businesses, if you're let's say looking to set up a mining operation here, if you're trying to get into manufacturing, maybe you're setting up $1 million operation where you're manufacturing like clothes, food, whatever it is, then yeah. But if you're starting a small business, it's not going to work. You got to begin with the end in mind and execute. Even if the execution is not perfect, you got to execute anyway. Because in that execution, you will learn some things. There's certain things you will learn. Oh, okay. If I had put together a business plan, I wouldn't have known about this situation. There's so many things that I've done that I didn't know if they're going to work or not. Like this concept right here. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but all I got to do is just execute. I'm going to learn as I grow. As people start to schedule calls and people start to approach me with proposals. Like this guy who just approached me with a business proposal, it was for, like I said, starting a nursery. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but the barrier to entry is not too bad. I'm going to take my chances. Because the way he approached me, he studied me, he knows exactly what I like and what I don't like. And I know once we start executing, there's certain things that we're going to discover in the process that, hey, maybe half of our plants are going to die because the weather is not great. Then maybe we might need to set up a greenhouse instead of having the nursery outside. Who knows? These are some of the things I'm going to have to learn. And if we set up a greenhouse, that means we got a competitive edge over somebody who's going to try and compete with us. But I won't know these things unless I start executing. The end goal is to sell, smaller plants to customers, and there's already demand for it. And that's the great part about it. There's already demand for it. So I know, even if we break even, I know I'm going to learn something from the process and perfect it If you're ready to start your business here in Africa and you're still thinking about business plans, don't do that. Schedule a call with me. Let's talk about how to get you to focus on how to get to the money as quickly as possible and get your minimal, get your MVP, minimal viable process or minimal viable product as quickly as possible. Execution is everything. You got to go as quickly as possible. Schedule time. This is a paid consultation. If you want any free game, there's plenty of free content here on YouTube. But this channel is for action takers. You're ready to execute. Because I'm here on the ground. I know what works and I know what doesn't. And the way you probably think it does not work. 9 times out of 10. If you're already operating your business here in Africa, let's talk too. There's so many things that you can learn about how to get your business to the next level. Maybe you're only operating in the same market. You haven't been exposed to other markets. You don't know that whatever it is that you're selling in, let's say, Kenya, you don't know that you can sell it for double in Zambia. You don't know that, but I do. Or I might. I might put you in a situation where you realize that. All right, schedule time. Talk to you soon. Bless.